So we'll begin with a beautiful song. We just celebrated Gaur Purnima. There's a beautiful song about Lord Chaitanya. All right. No need. If you're getting, well, first of all, put all your machines on silent, so the babies don't cry in the middle of the class. But if you're getting signal here, you can look up Sundara Lala. Or some people have translated it as Sundara Bala, but my book says Sundara Lala. Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Natata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Natata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Palle Chandana Tilaka Manohara Alaka Shobhe Kapolaname. Palle Chandana Tilaka Manohara Alaka Shobhe Kapolaname. Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Natata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Bolo Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Natata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Shire Juda Darashani Rale Vanapula Mala Iya Pardole. Shire Juda Darashani Rale Vanapula Mala Iya Pardole. Paina Pita Patambara Shobhe Nupura Vunu Junu Charaname. Mala Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Natata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. Mala Sundara Lala Sachidu Lala Natata Sri Hari Kirtana Me. कोई गावत है राधा कृष्ण नाम, कोई गावत है हरि गुण गान, कोई गावत है राधा कोई गावत है हरि गुण गान. Skip one line, huh? राधा कृष्ण एक तनु है निर्मल माधे बंसी बजावे. विश्वरूपगी प्रभु जी साही आवत प्रकट नरिय में. नरिय बोलो सुंदर कोई गावत है राधा कृष्ण नाम, कोई गावत है हरि गुण गान, कोई गावत है राधा कृष्ण नाम, कोई गावत है हरि गुण गान. मृदंग ताल मधुर रसाला कोई भगत है रंगन में अलमरुरा रसाला बजाता है कोई बोलो सुंदर लाला नागरती हरि कीर्तन में बोलो नागरती हरि कीर्तन बोलो नागरती हरि कीर्तन बोलो श्री सचिनंदन गौर हरि सुंदर लाला सची लाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन. So 500 years ago when Lord Chaitanya appeared, he was very, very beautiful. Beautiful means sundar. But he was not Sham Sundar like our deities in Vrindavan, rather Sham Sundar. He was Gaur Sundar. Sundara Lala. In Braj, when we want to call a little boy, we say, "Oh Lala, come here, Lala, Aja Lala." We want to call a little girl, we say, "Oh Lali, Aja Lali." So he was very beautiful, Lala, boy. And whose boy? 5,000 years ago, when Brajendra Nandan Shamsundar appeared, his mother's name, 5,000 years ago now, his mother's name was Yasoda. So we call him Yasoda Nandan or Yasoda Dulala. Sundar Lala, Sachi Dula. But 500 years ago, when Lord Chaitanya appeared, his mother's name was, so we call him Sachi Nandan or Sachi Dulala. Sundar Lala, Sachi Dulala. And he appeared underneath a neem tree, so he was given the name Nimai. And his father's name was? Oh, you know everything, huh? Mishra means Brahman. So he became known as Nimai Pandit. Kya naam? Nimai Pandit. And he appeared on the holy Purnima day, Falgun Purnima. Nowadays, because of Lord Chaitanya's appearance, we call it Gaur Purnima. Sundar Lala, Sachidu Lala, Nachata. Now we know Lord Shiva, he's known as Nataraj, the king of dance. But this is Sanskrit, Nata. This is a very harsh, kara Sanskrit word. But our Brishvasa language is very komal, very sweet, soft. So we say Nachata. And where was he dancing? In the Taj Hotel? In the disco dance club? Nachata Sri Hari Kirtan. He was always dancing in Sri Hari Kirtan. Because in this dark age of Kali, this is a recommended process. Chanting very loudly and very enthusiastically. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurumilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Tadati Swapadantikam Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Manjakalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhu vevascha patidanam bhavaneva Vishnavevyo. So in old days, I always went to Mayapur for Gaur Purnima. And how many people have been to Mayapur? Then you've seen everything is very, very far apart. So while I was walking, I would learn one song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Every day I tried to learn a new verse, about 30 verses. It's called Godruma Bhajana Upadesh. And the first verse is very, very lovely. Bhaktivinoda sings, Yadi te hari parasa roja sudam rasapana param hridayam tattatam Pariritya griham kali bhavamayam Bhaja godrumakanana kunjavirum Bhaja godrumakanana kunjavirum Bhaja godrumakanana kunjavirum. So he says, Yadite haripada, if you want to Haripada Saroja Sudam. Saroja is another name for lotus. Saroj, who's born in the water. Saroja. Yadite Haripada Saroja Sudam, the nectar of the lotus feet of Hari. Yadite Haripada Saroja Sudam. Rasa, that rasa pana, if you want to become absorbed, pana means to become really absorbed. Hridayam satatam, in your heart, always, satatam, always. If you always want to relish that nectar of the lotus feet of Hari, that rasa of the nectar of the lotus feet of Hari, Pariritya griham kali bhavamayam. He said, you give up that householder life that is filled with kalibhav. Pariritya griham kalibhavamayam Bhajagodrumakanana kunjavidu. We know that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had his house in a place called Godrumadi. Anybody done Navadip Mandal Prikrama? Only one or two. Anybody been to Godrumadi? Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house? Some people. On the other side of the river. Bhajagodrumakanana, the forest. Bhajagodrumakanana kunj. The kunj is of the forest. Bidum. Bidum is another name for the moon. Just worship that wonderful golden moon of the forest, of the kunjas of the forest of Godrum. So there's two ways we could translate this, because I'll teach you something about English grammar. Parivritya griham kalibhavamayam. Give up that householder life that is full of kaliva. Now, if we say that, we're referring to a particular type. If we say which, give up the householder life which is full of kalibhav, we're saying that griha, householder life, is all full of kalibhav. But Bhaktivinoda doesn't say, he says, give up that householder life that is full of kalibhav. We use that, that tells which. We use which, then it refers to the whole thing. So it's not necessarily that grihastha life is full of kalibhav. But that particular type of householder life that is full of kalibhav, that we should give up. Just like we see Bhaktivinoda, he had, 10 children. You can't get deeper in householder life than that. Nowadays they're trying to make propaganda that you only have one. When I first came to India, it was two. Now it's one. But you give up that household life that is full of kalibhav. Otherwise, just like there was one devotee who lived even north of Katha in North Bengal. I can't remember the place exactly. And I've forgotten what his Purva name was. But sadhus from Navadvip used to come through regularly, chanting the glories of Nimai Pandit. Hmm? And he was always thinking that I have to make pilgrimage to Navadvip. I have to make pilgrimage to Navadvip. So one day from the north, he started south to Navadvip. He got as far as Katha when he heard that Nimai was in the ashram of Keshav Bharati. And he came there to the ashram of Keshav Bharati, and Nimai was taking sannyas. Nimai was taking sannyas. If you go to Radha, or go to what is the name of the temple? Amiya Nimai Mandir in Vrindavan. Anybody been? Big, tall deity of Lord Chaitanya is there. Very tall deity of Lord Amiya Nimai, Gopinath Bazaar, toward the end of, just before you get to Govindadev Mandir. There's a special temple called Amiya Nimai. So, what was I going to say? I forgot to tell you about the temple. Anyway, there's a beautiful painting there above the altar. Lord Chaitanya in Katwa taking sannyas. And you see, everybody is weeping. Grown men are weeping. Everyone is weeping. The barber is there. He can't put his blade there. He's trying, but he can't. He's seeing these beautiful locks. He just can't do it. He can't do it. Finally, Nimai takes his hand and cuts his lock. Everybody, such catharsis, this beautiful painting showing the catharsis of the whole scene. And he shaved off those beautiful locks. And then actually what happened, because sometimes people wonder why Lord Chaitanya took sannyas from a Mayavadi. But actually that Mayavadi took sannyas from Lord Chaitanya. Because Lord Chaitanya asked him, is this the mantra that you're going to give me? And he whispered in his ear, our sannyas mantra, which I can't remember just now. Anyway, so he gave initiation to Keshav Bharati, Vaishnav sannyas. So Keshav Bharati says, yes, that's a good mantra. So he initiated Mahaprabhu that mantra. And then he gave him the name Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And as soon as this devotee heard that name, he just began uncontrollably chanting, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, 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 Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And then he realized Nimai is leaving Mayapur. There's no need to go to Mayapur. He went back to his village in northern Bengal. He was chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. He came into his house. He began rolling on the floor, chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. His wife saw him like this. She also fell on the floor and grabbed to his lotus feet, and she began chanting Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna. Their son, seeing their mother and father rolling in the floor like this, he grabbed both of their feet and he began to chant, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. So he became known as Krishna Chaitanya Das. So if your householder life is like that, then no need to give it up. You give up that household life that is just full of kalima. You don't give up household life. You give up, just like we sing that nice song, Griye Tako Bandi Tako Sadahari Boli Tako. So if you want to relish the nectar of the Lord's lotus feet, then you always have to be absorbed in relishing this holy name of Krishna. Become absorbed in relishing this holy name of Krishna. There's like one time we were on the beach in Los Angeles, Venice Beach. Prabhupada used to go there for a morning walk. And one young boy was there, just like all of you. He had met the devotees at the airport, and he was living in someplace called Arizona. That time we didn't have temple there. Now we have a couple of very beautiful temples. There's no temple. But he got a book in the airport and he started reading it. He understood something from it. So he started writing to the address there in uh, Watseke Avenue. My dear godbrother Swarup was there writing back to him. And they finally sent him other books. He wanted some chanting beads, so they sent him a japa mala and japa bag. He started chanting. He started offering his food. He started doing everything. So then they wrote to him that Prabhupada's coming to LA. If you can come here, that'd be very nice. So he came, and so that next morning on the morning walk, then Karandar was temple president. He said, "You must go with Prabhupada." So he came on the morning walk, and we were walking down Venice Beach, and suddenly he said, "Prabhupada, I heard uh, that wherever a pure devotee stays, uh, uh, that all material enjoyment goes away." And Prabhupada stopped walking, he dug his tail in the sand, and he turned around to see who was talking. He said, "We do not say do not enjoy. You were not in the kirtan this morning?" "Oh, yes, Prabhupada." "That was not enjoyable?" "Oh, yes, Prabhupada." "You were not in the Bhagavatam class listening to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness?" "Oh, yes, Prabhupada." "That was not enjoyable?" "Oh, yes, Prabhupada." I said, "Yes, that is enjoyment like a human being." And then Prabhupada said, and this dance all night and drink, that is enjoy it?" "Oh, no, Prabhupada, no, that is enjoyment like cat and dog." So we don't say don't enjoy, you enjoy like a human being. You chant the holy name of Krishna, you relish association of devotees, you listen to the nice classes of Krishna consciousness. This is enjoyment like a human being. Another time, there was a nice fellow named Dr. Stilson Judah, who was in charge of the Theological Union of Berkeley University. You all heard of Berkeley, right? We call it Berkeley. So he wrote it. He was one of the first people to write a book about the Hare Krishna movement, Hare Krishna and the counterculture. And he loved Prabhupada very much. So he came one morning to LA, and so we invited him to come on the morning walk. So he was walking along with Prabhupada, and he very respectfully asked him, "Prabhupada," because he was in charge of the theological union, so he knew all different religions. And he said, "What do you do about the problem of lust?" Because every religion has to deal with this. So he turned around, Prabhupada turned around and said, "Unless you become Krishna conscious, there's no solution." He walked a few more steps. He said, "Unless you become fully Krishna conscious, then there's no solution to this problem of lust." So we have to become completely absorbed in Krishna Seva. Just like another verse of that same Bhajan Upadesh, she says, "Ramani jana sanga sukham cha sake chaname bayadam purushartaharam yadagamya kata parivit Kata sakalam bifalam bhaja godrumakanam kunjali. He says, "Ramani jana sanga sukham chasake." Oh, that happiness of associating with young girls. Ramani jana sanga sukham chasake. That is nice. Charame bayadam, but in the end, it is very fearful. Purusharta haram. All your purusharts will be lost. So what to do? Prabhupada said, you, me, bird, bee, everybody is trapped by this thing. Ramani jana sanga kukham chasake charame bayadam purushartaharam jajagramya katha saka harina. Oh, excuse me. Harinama sudha rasamatamatir vajagodrumakanana kunjavidhu. Harinama sudha rasamatamatir. You just become absorbed in that Harinam Sankirtan Ras. Huh? Otherwise, no solution to this problem of us. Harinama Sudha Rasa Matamatir. Matamatir. Just become absorbed in chanting the holy name. And Bhajagodra and worship that golden moon in the forest of Godrum. Hmm? Otherwise, no other solution. Just become absorbed in always chanting and praying to Lord Chaitanya. Hmm? So it's talking about beaches, walking on the beach. I remember in 1974, the municipality declared in the newspaper that our Nam Sankirtan on our property here in Juhu was a public nuisance. Hmm? And I can't remember what the police commissioner also said something similar. Huh? So they weren't going to give us the permit to build on this land. Hmm? We know how Prabhupada fought so hard. You've read in the Limit how Prabhupada fought so hard for this land. And even we that's why I love this place, Juhu. Hmm? Because this is Prabhupada's temple. Hmm? Prabhupada fought so hard for this temple. Huh? And we couldn't figure it out. Huh? Even you can read in the Limit, the devotees, they got cheated. His lawyers, bribed our lawyers to say, yes, you should just give it up. So they signed it that the agreement is finished. And Prabhupada heard it on the phone. He didn't even answer. He just put the phone down. Then immediately began calling all the big people of Bombay. And then he wanted all of us to come. We had just come. That was the first time there was really, they say 73 was the first Gaur Purnima festival in Mayapur, but really internationally organized. 1974 was the first organized international festival in Mayapur. Because all the devotees came. It was amazing. We all flew to New York, and they had rented, because nowadays everybody makes their own arrangement. Those days they arranged it. They arranged a whole plane. All the devotees were in one. Um, now those days was a big deal. 747, and we flew to uh, London. And nowadays you have this jump, from New York to Delhi, or Chicago to Delhi, or all these jumps like that. Not those days, not so. It wasn't like that. We flew to London, then the London devotees got on. Then we flew to Paris. I knew every house, every airport in Europe. We flew to Paris. The Paris devotees got on. Then we flew to Rome. The Italian devotees got on. Then we flew to Greece. There wasn't many devotees in Greece, and then we flew to uh, uh, Beirut. Then Beirut blew up, and the next year we had to go to Tehran. Then we flew to Bombay. Then they had to divide us up into several, because the planes going to uh, Calcutta were small, so they divided us all up into small planes. And we flew to uh, Calcutta. And then there was buses waiting for us, and we took the buses to Mayapur. Everything was arranged. It was very nice in those days. And we used to have kirtan at 30,000 feet. Because practically the whole plane was devotees. So we would just be dancing in the aisles, playing our mridangas and kartal. The poor pilot, he was feeling the flames bouncing. And his weather radar didn't show any turbulence. He couldn't figure it out. And the stewardess told him what's going on. All right, everybody, please come return to your seats and fasten your seats. But we would have Mangal Arti, Gaur Arti, everything. In the morning we have Mangal Arti, in the evening we have Gaur. Gaur Arti, 30,000 feet. So anyway, we all came to Mayapur. So what was the story I'm usually going to tell? I forgot. Since COVID, my brain gets funny like that. Hmm? Okay. Oh, so then, all right, Bombay Temple. So we were all in Mayapur. Then we spent 2 weeks in Mayapur. Those days it was Mayapur Vrindavan Festival. Now it's just Mayapur Festival. Kartik has become our Vrindavan Festival. But we went 2 weeks to Mayapur and 2 weeks to Bombay. Then Prabhupada got this word that they declared our Nam Sankirtan a public nuisance, and they weren't going to give us the permit. So Prabhupada wanted to organize a Sankirtan protest, like Lord Chaitanya did with the Kazi. So, and those days, 1974, they didn't, things weren't so organized those days. We didn't have, they had the devotees themselves cooking. The devotees they were cooking with this, terrible buffalo ghee. Our Western bodies weren't ready for buffalo ghee. We were all so sick. And just the Lotus building was there, and it wasn't even complete. We were sleeping in the cement dust on the roof. Those who were big leaders, they had rooms, and we were all up on the roof, sleeping in the cement dust. And there was no generator, so eventually the light would go out. The light goes out means eventually there's no way to run the water pumps. Eventually the toilets don't have any water. Then you have to go all the way downstairs, and your belly is going, and you have to go to this hand pump, and oh my God, and there was some toilets downstairs. Oh, it's terrible. Well, luckily, Gurudas and Jamuna, they were just like mother and father. They heard that we had all this trouble. So they made nice, simple prasad for us, and they organized everything very nicely. But my stomach wasn't settled down, and I was thinking, there was Vishnu John Maharaj. Maybe you heard the stories about Vishnu John Maharaj. He was asking devotees to give up their flight and come to Bombay. They were going to arrange a train to Bombay to join in Prabhupada's Sankirtan protest. And my stomach was such a way, I didn't have any desire to go, because we were going to go back the same way. Delhi to Beirut, Beirut to Athens, Athens to Rome, Rome to Paris, Paris to London, London to New York. I said, oh my God, I can't take it. I'd rather go to Bombay. So a bunch of us, we all stayed back. We decided not to go. We stayed back. And somehow there was a wonderful devotee named Tejas. Because those days there was something called a 28-day landing permit. You didn't have to get a visa. This is all 40 years ago, or more than that, 50, 1974. 50 years ago, there was 28-day landing permit, which you can't extend, you can't do anything with. You just get 14 days, 24 days, 28 days in India. And somehow Tejas, he had such contacts. He says, a wonder the Indian Yatra owes so much to Tejas. Somehow or other, he got us, regular tourist visas, 3 months tourist visas, which was impossible to do, but he did it. And then they got us on a train, and they must have sent us, well, those days it was called second classes now. No. And there was no cushions on the seat. Like nowadays, you have nice cushions. No cushion, just wood. And we were sitting on this train, and it must have taken 30 hours. Now you have this Rajdhani, and we came here from Baroda on the Vande Bharat. We couldn't believe this is India, or we're in Europe. But that train was very slow. Oh my goodness. But we'd have Mangal Artik, and we'd have Gaur Artik all on the train and everything, because we had, they booked us a whole block of seats on one car. So finally we arrived in Bombay, and we joined Prabhupada's Sankirtan protest. We go all around doing Harinam, and so Prabhupada would go on his morning walks. One day I got invited, and it was, and Dr. Patel, maybe read about him in Leela because I'm sure he is no more, but he used to always argue with Prabhupada, all the Mayavad philosophy. So we were walking on the beach in Juhu, and as we were walking down to the beach, then Dr. Patel would meet us, and we go down to the beach. And Dr. Patel was saying, it is, that the Mayavadis say, it is all one, that we're all God. And Prabhupada said, just like here, We're walking on the sand, not on the sea or the air. You can say it is all one, it is all atoms. That's all right. But still, we're walking on the sand, not on the sea or not in the air. Hmm? You can say it is all one. Huh? Huh? But practically, you cannot walk in the air, you cannot walk on the sea, you walk on the land, even though it is all one. Hmm? Huh? So Dr. Patel was giving some more examples. Then Prabhupada said, just like in the body, so many holes are there in the body. You can say it is all one. Hmm? They're all holes. Huh? But he said, but we put the food here, not here. I said, even child, Prabhupada said, even child can understand. So your intelligence is less than a child. Like this every day, you have these entertaining battles with Dr. Patel, who loved, actually, he loved Prabhupada very much. But he was just bewildered by these Mayavadis, so Prabhupada was convincing him slowly, slowly, slowly. Because I remember one day, one lady came to the program. At that time, there was just a small temple, right? Just practically where the entrance is. There was a little tin roof, little temple, and a little mandap with a tin roof and some fans. That was the only place there was fans. And all of us were living where this heaven and earth is. There was a Gandhi Park here. They save it anywhere, or is it just that park in front is something anyway? So, and they had a Chetai building where we all stayed. Just Chetai roof and Chetai walls, and at night we could hear the rats running back and forth. Brrr, every once in a while they slip and fall, boom, and land in your sleeping bag. And there was a well in this corner over here where they give out the Mahaprasad. And we'd all take bath in the well. Actually, we never slept in it. After the first night, we never slept there in that Chetai. We could keep our things there. And that's right. We didn't go to some went to the well, but there was a little room with a big 50-liter drum or 100-liter drum. I guess a 100-liter drum. I think in gallons, but anyway, 100-liter drum with water. We used to go inside that room and just take our bath like that with a bucket. It was not a bucket, a mug and a big thing, and we take our bath like that. And I remember somebody was in there and he's taking a long time, and I said, "Come on, what are you doing? What are you doing in there? Hurry up!" And then I heard Satrup Maharaj's voice. "I'm sorry, Prabhu, I'll be out in a minute." So we'd all go to the Darshan Mandap because there was fans. So we'd all just sleep in the Darshan Mandap. And every day we go on Harinam, and Prabhupada would have big lecture, big Pandal program every night. And we were all amazed because so many thousands of people would come. It was totally amazing time. We were here for the Prabhupada's Sankirtan protest. Finally, by the influence of, because Prabhupada had many friends in Bombay, by his influence, they finally gave us the permission, and we built this beautiful temple. And now we see why Prabhupada uh, uh, struggled so hard for this. It's just amazing. Every night, every day, so many hundreds, thousands of people are coming every night. So many thousands of people come for our arti, you know, and now it's become. It was a little bit posh in those days, but now this is one of the poshest neighborhoods in Bombay. We're just around the corner. Amitabh Bachchan has his thing, and SRK has it somewhere nearby too. Now we understand. We were ready to give it up, but Prabhupada, he fought so hard for this place. So this temple to me, just walking in this temple, eating, sleeping, dancing, chanting, you just feel Prabhupada everywhere. He made, because we had no idea. In the West, we went to the low rent district where nobody lived, and we rented a low rent, cheapo building, and we painted it funny colors and put a sign, Radha Krishna Temple. That was a temple for us. And Prabhupada was talking about, huge marble temple, marble, huge tall marble temple with 21 domes and all this. Twin tower guest house, 10-tower guest house. We never, you know, we just rented these little cheapo houses and we didn't have any room for any guests. Even sometimes there wasn't room for us. We sleep out in the backyard. We had no idea what Prabhupada was talking about, but now we see Prabhupada had so much vision. He saw this was going to become one of the nicest places in Bombay area, and that so many people would come here, hear the chanting of the holy name, take books, take prasadam. Now Govindus is one of the most famous restaurants in Bombay. Hmm? Now we understand Prabhupada was just, he had vision that we didn't have. Hmm? It was just such an amazing place here. And I can remember Prabhupada would give, they had made a big pandal, and Prabhupada, just that little tiny temple was there. And there's a picture with this big sort of roundish Vyasasan. And every night I would stand right next to the Vyasasan. Because after the lecture, they would bring out a big plate of Mahaprasad. Hmm? And then Prabhupada, I just watched, he had such a wonderful smile on his face. Amused smile. He was just amused. He would give out. First, all the little children would come. And Prabhupada would give everyone Mahaprasad, then all the ladies and gentlemen. And Prabhupada would just this wonderful, compassionate, amused smile. I would just watch that smile. Prabhupada would give out Mahaprasad to everyone. It was so nice. Now we have this heaven and earth and everything. It's so amazing. Prabhupada's vision. I remember P.L. Sethi, you read about in Leelamrit, because his son Bridge Mohan comes here quite often. We met him the first day we were here. And he was very dear to Prabhupada. And uh, uh, that he was a developer. He had a construction company. So that time they had all these apartment buildings here. Probably some of you have seen those days. I don't know. And the laws in India and in Bombay were such that once you get a renter there, it's almost impossible to get him out. So the devotees, like I said, were just living in this Chetai shack. So P.L. Sethi suggested we build another floor on all the buildings, and we live up there. So they made a nice apartment. First was for Prabhupada. They made a nice room up on top of all the apartment buildings for Prabhupada to stay right out here. And one day, P.L. Sethi, because the construction was going on, and P.L. Sethi came to inspect everything, and then because he'd been walking around construction site, his pants were all dirty, he had cement dust everywhere, and he said, "How can I go before Guruji?" He always called Prabhupada Guruji. How can I go before Guruji all dirty like this? And he started to walk out the gate. And he said, "But how can I leave without bidding farewell to Guruji?" So he climbed up the stairs to Prabhupada's apartment, and he came in Prabhupada's apartment. And Prabhupada looked at him and saw everything was all dirty and dusty, cement dust and everything. And Prabhupada looked at him and said, "So, you were building rooms for my devotees?" He said, "Yes, Guruji." He said, "So, I am building a room for you in Golok." And P.L. Sethi used to come to Vrindavan. Everyone was like, "Tell us this story," with tears in his eyes. He said, "I wasn't even a devotee. I was just serving the devotees of Prabhupada. And for the devotees of Prabhupada, for those who were serving his devotees, he was making room in Golok. What will happen to you who are chanting 16 rounds and following the 4 regs and everything? What will happen to you?" I wasn't even a devotee. I remember another time P.L. Sethi told us that he became very, very ill. Because almost every day he would come after the temple. He would have come almost every day. And one day, he didn't come. And for several days he didn't come. And then Giriraj was here at that time, Giriraj Maharaj, or at that time Brahmachari. So they were going out to a very, very important meeting to meet some very big people to help with the construction. And uh, he asked Giriraj, where's Setiji? We don't see him anymore. He said, oh, he's very sick. Prabhupada said, cancel this meeting, we're going to Setiji's house. It was very important meeting. The Prabhupada said, cancel the meeting. They were sitting in the car. He said, cancel the meeting, tell the driver, take me to Setiji's house. So he went to see Setiji, and he was lying in bed. And I assume he had a pacemaker. He didn't. He just said, I had some machine for my heart. So I assume it was a pacemaker. He never said exactly. He said, oh, Swamiji, I'm very sick. They put this machine. Without this machine, I can't live for 5 minutes. And Prabhupada said, you take that machine and throw it out the window. I said, what? I said, you take that machine and throw it out the window. He said, what, Guruji? He said, take that machine, throw it out the window. I will see you die. Prabhupada said, I will see you die. Huh? So he threw his pacemaker out the window, and Prabhupada began to preach to him all the verses from Bhagavad Gita, De Nasminyata De, Nanyate Sanyamane Sarire, all of these slokas. Huh? Why are you worried about death? Death is born with this body, you're bound to die. What are you afraid of death? This, that, all these verses. And P.L. Sethi said, now Prabhupada, he used to come to Vrindavan, said, now Prabhupada is gone, I'm still here. With tears in his eyes, he would tell us, Prabhupada is gone, but I'm still here. Prabhupada gave me life. You throw that machine out the window. For several years, I think he was in his 90s or something when he left. I don't know, I can't remember now. And he was one of the ones, because eventually Mr. N bribed the municipality to break the temporary temple. So they came here and they started arresting all the devotees, and they broke the temporary darshan mandap, and then they were going to start demolishing it was just, cement block little place with a tin roof. And my god sister, my Tahili, she ran and she just went like this in front of the doors. And they were so cruel that they grabbed her by the hair and pulled her across the property. Just at that time, P.L. Sethi was crossing. And he saw them dragging this poor, foreign girl by her hair across the property. So then he called Bal Thackeray, and Bal Thackeray said, you better stop this destruction or you're going to be in big trouble. You're going to see me. At that time, he was very powerful in Bombay. So we're forever grateful. He stopped it somehow or other. They stopped the thing. And it was Friday. And P.L. Sethi was there with Brij Mohan. And he told Prabhupada, we're going to rebuild this temple. And then somebody from the municipality was there, says, no, you can't rebuild this temple. He said, Bridge, you get your revolver and I'll get my shotgun and we'll see who stops us from building this temple. So it was Friday, so Saturday the court was on vacation. Sunday, the court was on vacation. They had 2 days. Because on Monday, they go and get the stay order to stop the reconstruction. And Krishna didn't cooperate. It was raining. It was just like Giriraj Lila. It was raining. Somehow or other, they stood there in the rain with their guns and they made sure the temple was built. By Monday morning, when they went to the court said, the temple is there. What can I say? These are all my nice treasured memories of Juhu Mandir. How late do we go? What time? So maybe we can stop. Anybody has any questions? Yes? Mm. No, that happens to everyone. Even old devotees is, it's like sometimes we're up and sometimes we're down. That's always going to be there. So we have to practice. Just like Prabhupada explained that you're in a boat and the wave comes, but you don't know how to, you boating, you don't know, you're learning. Hmm? So the wave comes and your boat is shaking like this. Huh? So you may think, well, let me jump. Huh? That's where we got the word bloop. Huh? Bloop. That's where the word bloop came from. Boat is shaking, but you're not in the water. You're safe. Just you don't know how to row properly. But gradually, as you learn, you get more experience, then the wave comes and you know how to go over the wave like that. So just like Krishna told Arjuna, and Arjuna asked Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he said to control the mind, that is more easy to control the wind. And anybody can control the wind, nobody can control the wind. He said that is more easy. But Krishna said, what did he say? Abhyas or vairagya. By practice and detachment. Just like in Braj, the Brijvasis, they have a wonderful saying. Because sometimes we go on Braj Prikama, we go to some village, and there, what to speak of running water, there's not even hand pump. There's just a well. And on that well, there's so many stones all around the mouth of that well, and they'll have little grooves cut in them. And nobody came with a chimney and chisel and hammer and made those grooves. The Brishvasi say, Kara kara kabhyase, jarmati hota sajan, rasari avata javate, shilpar pari nishan. And he said, Kara kara kabhyase, jarmati, even a foolish fellow, uneducated fellow, sajan, by practice he can become sajan. Just like in British literature, we have one drama called My Fair Lady. There was one lady, she spoke English very poorly. The Rhine and spine, Rhine, smiley and the flying, Mike. So one language professor, he took her and he trained her by practice and practice. She could say, the rain in Spain rains mainly in the plain. Huh? And the result, what is the proof of practice can overcome things? He said, Rasari avata javati, shilpar pari nishan. Now, if I tell you that you have to cut this rock with a rope, you say, what are you talking about? You're crazy. Rope is very soft. It's going in the water. It's becoming softer. Huh? The stone is very hard. But avata javat, shilpar, stone, shield, shield, like over the shield, shilpar, pari, nishan. The mark is there. Avata javat. So we just have to keep practicing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. And that's why we associate with the devotees, because that keeps our enthusiasm going. Because without enthusiasm, we won't be able to overcome these difficulties. Well, I'll get them. It's not unnatural. It's just this material world is made like that to try and stop you from surrendering to Krishna. Hmm? What memories? Fond memories. Well, I was just sharing something because I didn't get so much. I spent most of my devotional career in Portland, Oregon, which is way up in the northwest of the United States, and Prabhupada had already been there just before I took over as president. But in LA, I stayed in LA for some time, and before they sent me to Portland, and where the Fate Museum is now, that used to be the temple room. Then there was another building with all, because it was an old church. They couldn't, somehow people aren't, nowadays the percentage of people leaving God is going down and down. Although now in Bharat we see, with our wonderful Modi there, everything is going up and up. So they couldn't maintain the church anymore, so they sold it. So it was all had pews, pews, seats, and everything. So, but anyway, they took out all the pews and they flattened everything because it was shaped like this, So they flattened it all out. They made that the temple room. In the old days, it was where the Fate Museum was. There was a big temple room. And there was a door in the back of the temple room. Prabhupada's room was upstairs. And he would come down and he would enter that door and walk up to the Gornitai altar. And he'd pay his obeisance to Gornitai and take darshan. And then there was a green onyx pillar with a charnamrit on the top. He would take charnamrit, and we would wash his hand, and he would pay his obeisance to Radha and Krishna. At that time, little Radha Krishna, big Radha Krishna wasn't there. Little Radha Krishna like this. Then Jagannath, and then he would come in the back was his Vyasa's son. So one time, that time I was still in Boulder, we just happened to pass through LA because there was going to be Rath Yatra in San Francisco. But we knew that we go to LA, Prabhupada was still there in LA, then he would go to San Francisco. We went to LA first. And that was the morning. We arrived at, sometime in the daytime. The next morning we were going to see darshan and everything. So that was the first morning Prabhupada told that you play this Govinda prayers, Brahma Samhita. I've racked my brain, but my old memory can't remember what we used to do for Darshanarati before that. I don't know. Because that was 1970 probably, or 71, 70. Roughly after 1970s. I don't remember what we used to do for Darshanarati. It's been, Govinda prayer has been going on for so long. So that morning, Prabhupada ordered, it was the first day, Prabhupada ordered with Darshanarati, you play Govinda prayers. So Prabhupada came in through that door, we were all in pay our obeisance, and he would go up, take darshan of Gornitai, take the charnamrit, pay obeisance to Radha Krishna, and pay his obeisances, and go to Jagannath. Then he went back and he sat on his Vyasasan, and he was singing along with the tape. Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari. Suddenly we saw from Prabhupada's eyes streams of tears were coming. And we were just, we didn't know what to do because we were all Kali Yuga inmates. I mean, Chitragupta, there's one fellow named Chitragupta. He's Yamaraj's secretary. And Chitra, means photo. And Gupta means secret. You think, oh, nobody saw that. Chitragupta Kachu. Huh? Oh, nobody saw that one. Chitragupta Kachu. We crashed his hard drive. You know what we were before we were devotees. So how are we, these fallen Kali Yuga inmates, what are we supposed to do in the presence of pure devotee experiencing ecstatic symptoms? We wanted to peel the tiles off the floor and crawl underneath. And then Prabhupada just all of a sudden, the tape ended, he smeared his face like this, and a big sniff into the microphone. I can't do it, he did a big, huge sniff into the microphone. And that time in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada was teaching us the Isupanishad mantras. So Prabhupada just big sniff, and then he composed himself and he started chanting Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. He just, you know, he would chant up to whatever mantra we had gotten to, and he'd teach us that mantra and go back and lecture on where he left off on his lecture. Like that. So he was teaching it. And it was just so wonderful. Prabhupada sitting there, Om Purnamadaha Purnam. And he was rocking back and forth like this. So I was just feeling like we're on the boat that's crossing over this ocean of Kali Yuga. And Prabhupada is our captain. That reminds me of another story. This is a very fond story. We heard this, I think it was maybe it was the 25th anniversary of Juhu Temple. They invited all the old devotees. So there was one uh, girl named Koshalya. She lives in LA. She has something to do with the movie industry. I can't remember now what. But anyway, when she became a devotee, she was just a young girl, like 15, 16 years old. And Prabhupada asked for, because Prabhupada that was the time, now Giriraj Maharaj written his book, The Dancing White Elephants. Prabhupada invited, as many devotees as possible. So she went to India and they were traveling around different places. And one time they came to Surat. And in Surat, you've seen the pictures, the devotees are so covered with marigold flowers, their faces are about to disappear. And you see Kausalya, she had sort of an Indian complexion. She wasn't white. I'm not sure what her ancestry was. But you see her there with this beautiful smile covered in marigold gardens. And they put saris between the buildings like this to shade us from the sun. Such a reception in Surat. We probably never had a reception like that. It was so amazing. And then they went to some program outside of Surat in some village. Now in the city, there's bars, there's restaurants, there's movie theaters, so many distractions. But in the village, at night, the only thing there is to do is listen to the grass grow. So foreign Vaishnavas, that was a very amazing thing, in the villages. So people came from far around. Hmm? And that was also the same time Prabhupada was teaching us the Isopanishad mantras. And Kasalya, she was a young girl, you know, and one time she just wanted some attention from Prabhupada. Uh, so she just came prancing up, not very Vedic or very cultured. She just came prancing up to Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Prabhupada, I have learned all Isopanishad mantras by heart." And Prabhupada just looked at her and said, "Oh, that's nice." Hmm. She just wanted to get some attention. She's a young girl, so she just wanted some attention, from Prabhupada. So that night there was a pandal. There was like 68 to 80,000 people in this pandal. Everybody from villages or foreign Vaishnava, dancing white elephants. They all came. Huh? And all of a sudden, in the middle of his lecture, Prabhupada said, he stopped his Hindi and he spoke in English. He said, "And I have got one lady disciple. She can chant whole Isopanishad by heart." He said, "Oh my God, why did I ever tell him?" Then he announced in Hindi the same thing. And Prabhupada looked at her and she walked up to the microphone. She looked out 60, 80,000 people. She just shut her eyes. Om Purnam Madaha Purnam Vidam Purnat Purnam. She went through all, I guess 17, 18, I can't remember how many verses these upon, all the way to the end. Somehow she did it. And then Prabhupada called her to his Vyasasan. He pulled her over the edge of the Vyasasan, just like a grandfather with his granddaughter. He pulled her into his lap and he was rubbing her back, that she pulled it off. You imagine Prabhupada rubbing her back in his lap. One time, in one of my personal ones, uh, uh, I always, whenever I was in LA, I always make sure I was right in front of the Vyasasan. When Prabhupada sat down, I always make sure I'm right there in front. So I sat down, and all of a sudden Prabhupada looked at me and he went like this. And I looked down, I thought maybe my dhoti was open or something. I couldn't see. I couldn't see anything, so I just, somehow I looked up at Prabhupada in this position, like a yogi, and Prabhupada just shook his head. So I just froze in this position. Then Prabhupada was giving his class. I'll have to go look up that class. Right in the middle of the class, because devotees have a very bad habit of wiggling their knees like this. That's what I was doing. Because now my legs are such I can't sit in lotus position. Even though young days I was still very hard for me, So I was going like this. And when you're giving class, there's nothing more distracting than somebody. All of a sudden, in the middle of the class, Prabhupada looked down at me and said, "Don't do that." Another time, Prabhupada got down from the Vyasasan and he paid his obeisance, and I was just on the right side of the Vyasa. Prabhupada would pay his obeisance with the left side to the deities. So I was right there on the right side of the Vyasasan, and Prabhupada got down to pay his dandavats, and I looked up and I saw those two lotus feet right in front of my head. So I just moved my head up like this. And Prabhupada was looking around. I didn't see, but they told me Prabhupada look. I'll tell you one story that nobody knows, because that God brother is no longer in this world, so there's no memory tape of his. But in the very old days, there was a devotee named Kartikeya. He might have been from Indonesia, so he had some Southeastern Asian ancestry. And he was very, very sensitive devotee, very emotional. But he used to love Prabhupada, and he cooked so nicely for Prabhupada, so he was Prabhupada's servant. And they went to Hawaii. And one day, Govindadasi came back from the market. Oh, Govindadasi, my wonderful god sister, who, because of her, we have Tulsi worship, So she came back from the market, and she had something called wheat germ. Now, I never met anybody in Bharat that knows what wheat germ is. It's very famous in the West. It's very healthy. It's the part of the wheat inside the kernel. You break it open, you see these two little leaves, that are going to germinate. That's why it's called wheat germ. So that's very, very healthy. It's called wheat germ. Anyway, the point is, it's not suji. So he thought next time Swamiji, because those are old days, next time Swamiji asks for halava, I'm going to make it with the wheat germ. And he's going to be so pleased. He'll be so pleased. So one day it rained. So when it rains, it's a little bit cold. And when it's cold, Prabhupada like to take a halava because it's full of ghee and grains. It keeps you nice and warm, So he asked Kartikeya, make some halava. So Kartikeya went in the kitchen, and his whole meditation is, I'm going to make it with the wheat germ. Swamiji is going to like it so much. He's going to be so pleased, And he's just cooking with heart like this. He offered it to the deities. He brought a bowl into Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada looked. He said, what is this? Halava means suji. And with his left hand, Prabhupada said, take it away. So Kartikeya was just destroyed. His whole meditation was Swamiji would be so pleased. And he's so upset. With his left hand, he said, take it out. So he went into the temple. He sat down before the picture of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and he began to pray that I was just trying to please your spiritual son, Swamiji. But somehow he's become so upset with me, I don't know what to do. And he began to cry. But he was a very emotional type of fellow, sensitive fellow. So he was crying. Suddenly he heard Prabhupada's voice, Kartikeya, Kartikeya. And he ran into Prabhupada's room. He said, bring that halava. And Kartikeya came back, he brought the halava. Prabhupada, with great gusto, he finished off he said, bring some more. In this way, Prabhupada finished off the whole batch of halava. So Kartikeya Swami, he told me he learned two things from that. One is that Prabhupada is not alone. Because he was praying to who? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So there's a whole line of spiritual masters behind Prabhupada, all the way up to the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. And they're offering us a rope. Get out of this Kali Yuga. Grab onto the rope. Huh? Whole line. Prabhupada's not alone. Behind him, there's a whole line of spiritual masters. Second thing is, Prabhupada always told us that the grandfather is more merciful than the father. I have my personal experience. My grandfather had, now we call it a convenience store, or all types, all varieties of things in the store, right? So one side there was all the chocolate, So me and my brothers and sisters, we'd always go to the side where all the chocolate was. Grandpa would give us, But my father, who had to pay all our dental bills, he would come and said, "No, no, 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 that's enough." But Grandpa from backside, he'd always give. So grandfather's more merciful than the father. So you may think that I'm so fortunate, I got Prabhupada's association, you didn't get Prabhupada's association. You're more fortunate because you have Prabhupada as your grandfather's spiritual master, and Prabhupada is going to be more merciful to you than to us. Hare. So I think we'll stop here with that encouraging words. Hare Krishna. And please come to Vrindavan sometime. We'll tell one Vrindavan story. One time, Jamuna told me this story. Prabhupada was coming to Vrindavan, and Guru Das and Jamuna were in charge of the temple at that time. The temple wasn't there. And they were all staying at Radha Damodar. Because Prabhupada had his rooms there. But somehow that Kartik, many devotees came. Well, it's not like nowadays, but anyway, a lot of devotees came. So downstairs means there was always a lot of noise. We know Prabhupada's rooms are downstairs, right outside the courtyard of Radha Damodar. And Jamuna and Guru Das were living upstairs in an apartment upstairs. So Prabhupada decided, let me go upstairs and you can come downstairs. And then I can have peace to translate. So they brought Prabhupada upstairs, and then Jamuna was, she brought all her things down, and they were bringing Prabhupada's things upstairs. And she went upstairs, and when she got to Prabhupada's door, it was open just a little crack, and there was some noise. So she peeked through the crack, and she was just thinking, what's Prabhupada going to do about that lady monkey? There was one old lady monkey that tore up their cloth when they hung it out to dry, would sneak in the room and steal all their food stuff and just be a nuisance. And they named her Kakati. Huh? And she was just thinking, what's Swamiji going to do about Kakati? And she came up and she looked through the crack and she saw the Kakati was in the window. And Prabhupada, Kakati went, and Prabhupada went, and Kakati went, and Prabhupada went, and then she ran away. And Jamuna came in the door and she said, "Oh, Swamiji, what was that?" Prabhupada said, "I told her to go away and not to bother me." And Jamuna said, "We never saw that monkey again." Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. His great Bandhu Prabhu ki.